Our next story is from the fourth chapter of the Gospel of John, and it is one you have heard time and time again. Jesus comes to the well, and there is a woman called Woman of Samaria, and he said to her, "Give me to drink." From John chapter 4, verse 7. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, asketh drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. From John chapter 4, verse 9. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, Give me a drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. From John chapter 4, verse 10. The woman, seeing that he has nothing with which to draw the water, and knowing the well is deep, says, Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children and cattle? From John chapter 4, verse 12. Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. From John chapter 4, verse 13 and 14. Then he tells her all concerning herself, and asks her to go and call her husband. She answered and said, I have no husband. From John chapter 4, verse 17. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. From John chapter 4, verses 17 and 18. The woman, knowing this to be true, goes into the marketplace and tells the other, I have met the Messiah. They ask her, How do you know you have met the Messiah? Because he told me all things that I have ever done, she replies. Here is a focus that takes in the entire past at least, and tells her now concerning the future. Continuing with the story, the disciples come to Jesus and say, Master, eat. From John chapter 4, verses 31. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye know not of. From John chapter 4, verse 32. When they speak of a harvest in 4 months, Jesus replies, Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes and look on the fields, for they are white already in harvest. From John chapter 4, verse 35. He sees things that people wait 4 months for, or wait 4 years for. He sees them as in a dimensionally larger world existing now, taking place now. Let us go back to the first part of the story. The woman of Samaria is the 3-dimensional you, and Jesus at the well is the 4th-dimensional you. The argument starts between what you want to be and what reason tells you that you are. The greater you tells you that if you would dare assume you are already what you want to be, you would become it. The lesser you, with its limited focus, tells you why you haven't a bucket, you haven't a rope, and the well is deep. How could you ever reach the depth of the state without the means to that end? You answer and say, If you only knew who asks of you to drink, you would ask of him. If you only knew what in yourself is urging upon the embodiment of the state you now seek, you would suspend your little sight and let him do it for you. Then he tells you that you have 5 husbands and you deny it. But he knows far better than you that your 5 senses impregnate you morning, noon, and night with their limitations. They tell you what children you will bear tonight, tomorrow, and the days to come. For your 5 senses act like 5 husbands who constantly impregnate your consciousness, which is the great womb of God. And morning, noon, and night, they suggest to you and dictate to you that which you must accept as true. He tells you the one you would like to have for your husband is not your husband. In other words, the 6th has not yet impregnated you. What you would like to be is denied by these 5, and they hold the power. They dictate what you will accept as true. What you would like to accept has not yet penetrated your mind and impregnated your mind with its reality. He whom you call husband is really not your husband. You're not bearing his likeness. To bear his likeness is proof that you are his wife. At least you have known him intimately. You are not bearing the likeness of the sixth. You are only bearing the likeness of the five. Then one turns to me and tells me all that I have ever known. I go back in my mind's eye, and reason tells me that all through my life I have always accepted the limitations of my senses. I have always looked upon them as fact, and morning, noon, and night I have borne witness to this acceptance. Reasons tell me I have only known these five from the time I was born. Now I would like to step outside the limitation of my senses, but I have not yet found within myself the courage to assume I am what these five would deny that I am. So here I remain, conscious of my task, but without the courage to step beyond the limitations of my senses and that which my reason denies. He tells these, I have meat ye know not of. I am the bread that droppeth down from heaven. I am the wine. I know what I want to be, and because I am that bread, I feast upon it. I assume that I am, and instead of feasting upon the fact that I am in this room talking to you and you are listening to me, that I am in Los Angeles, I feast upon the fact that I am elsewhere and I walk here as though I am elsewhere. And gradually I become what I feast upon. Let me give you two personal stories. When I was a boy, I lived in a very limited environment in a little island called Barbados. Feed for animals was very scarce and very expensive because we had to import it. I am one of a family of 10 children and my grandmother lived with us, making 13 at the table. Time and again, I can remember my mother saying to the cook in the early part of the week, I want you to put away 3 ducks for Sunday's dinner. This meant that she would take from the flock in the yard 3 ducks and coop them up in a very small cage and feed them, stuff them morning, noon, and night with corn and all the things she wanted the ducks to feast upon. This was an entirely different diet from what we regularly fed the ducks because we kept those birds alive by feeding them fish. We kept them alive and fat on fish because fish was very cheap and plentiful. But you could not eat a bird that fed upon fish, not as you and I like a bird. The cook would take 3 ducks, put them in a cage, and for 7 days stuff them with corn, sour milk, and all the things we wanted to taste in the birds. Then when they were killed and served for dinner 7 days later, they were luscious, milk-fed, corn-fed birds. But occasionally, the cook forgot to put away the birds, and my father, knowing we were having ducks and believing that she had carried out the command, did not send anything else for dinner, and 3 ducks came to the table. You could not touch those birds, for they were so much the embodiment of what they fed upon. Man is a psychological being, a thinker. It is not what he feeds upon physically, but what he feeds upon mentally that he becomes. We become the embodiment of that which we mentally feed upon. Now those ducks could not be fed corn in the morning and fish in the afternoon and something else at night. It had to be a complete change of diet. In our case, we cannot have a little bit of meditation in the morning, curse at noon, and do something else in the evening. We have to go on a mental diet for a week. We must completely change our mental food. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. From Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If I could now single out the kind of mental food I want to express within my word and feast upon it, I would become it. Let me tell you why I am doing what I am doing today. It was back in 1933 in the city of New York, and my friend Abdullah, with whom I studied Hebrew for 5 years, was really the beginning of the eating of all my superstitions. When I went to him, I was filled with superstitions. I could not eat meat. I could not eat fish. I could not eat chicken. I could not eat any of these things that were living in the world. I did not drink. I did not smoke. And I was making a tremendous effort to live a celibate life. Abdullah said to me, I am not going to tell you you are crazy, Neville, but you are, all these things are stupid, but I could not believe they were stupid. In November 1933, I bade goodbye to my parents in the city of New York as they sailed for Barbados. I had been in this country 12 years with no desire to see Barbados. I was not successful, and I was ashamed to go home to successful members of my family. After 12 years in America, I was a failure in my own eyes. I was in the theater and made money 1 year and spent it the next month. I was not what I would call by their standards nor by mine a successful person. Mind you, when I said goodbye to my parents in November, I had no desire to go to Barbados. The ship pulled out, and as I came up the street, something possessed me with a desire to go to Barbados. It was the year 1933. I was unemployed and I had no place to go except a little room on 75th Street. I went straight to my old friend Abdullah and said to him, the strangest feeling is possessing me. For the first time in 12 years, I want to go to Barbados. If you want to go, Neville, you have gone, he replied. That was a very strange language to me. I am in New York City on 72nd Street and he tells me I have gone to Barbados? I said to him, what do you mean I have gone, Abdullah? He said, do you really want to go? I answered, yes. He then said to me, as you walk through this door, now you are not walking on 72nd Street. You are walking on palm-lined streets, coconut-lined streets. This is Barbados. Do not ask me how you are going to go. You are in Barbados. You do not say how, when you are there. You are there. Now you walk as though you were there. I went out of this place in a daze. I am in Barbados. I have no money. I have no job. I am not even well clothed, and yet I am in Barbados. He was not the kind of person with whom you would argue, not Abdullah. 2 weeks later, I was no nearer my goal than on the day I first told him I wanted to go to Barbados. I said to him, I trust you implicitly, but here is one thing. I cannot see how it is going to work. I have not one penny towards my journey. I began to explain. You know what he did? He was as black as the ace of spades. My old friend Abdullah with his turbaned head. As I sat in his living room, he rose from his chair and went towards his study and slammed the door, which was not an invitation to follow him. As he went through the door, he said to me, I have said all that I have to say. On the 3rd of December, I stood before Abdullah and told him again I was no nearer my trip. He repeated his statement, you are in Barbados. The very last ship sailing for Barbados that would take me there for the reason I wanted to go, which was to be there for Christmas, sailed at noon on December 6th, the old Nerissa. On the morning of December 4th, having no job, having no place to go, I slept late. When I got up, there was an airmail letter from Barbados under my door. As I opened the letter, a little piece of paper flickered to the floor. I picked it up and it was a draft for $50. The letter was from my brother Victor and it read, I'm not asking you to come, Neville. This is a command. We have never had a Christmas when all the members of our family were present at the same time. This Christmas, it could be done if you would come. My oldest brother Cecil left home before the youngest was born, and then we started to move away from home at different times, so never in the history of our family were we ever all together at the same time. The letter continued, You are not working, I know. There is a reason why you cannot come. So you must be here before Christmas. The enclosed $50 is to buy a few shirts or a pair of shoes you may need for the trip. You will not need tips. Use the bar if you are drinking. I will meet the ship and pay all your tips and incurred expenses. I have cabled Furness, Withy & Co. in New York City and told them to issue you a ticket when you appear at their office. The $50 is simply to buy some little essentials you may sign as you want aboard the ship. I will meet it and take care of all obligations. I went down to Furness, Withy & Co. with my letter and let them read it. They said, We received the cable, Mr. Goddard, but unfortunately we have not any space left on the December 6th sailing. The only thing available is a third class between New York and St. Thomas. When we get to St. Thomas, we have a few passengers who are getting off. You may then ride first class from St. Thomas to Barbados. But between New York and St. Thomas, you must go to third class, although you may have the privileges of the first class dining room and walk the decks of the first class. I said, I will take it. I went back to my friend Abdullah on the afternoon of December 4th, and it said, it worked like a dream. I told him what I had done, thinking he would be happy. Do you know what he said to me? He said, who told you that you are going third class? Did I see you in Barbados? The man, you are going third class? You are in Barbados and you went there first class. I did not have one moment to see him again before I sailed on the noon of December 6th. When I reached the dock with my passport and my papers to get aboard that ship, the agent said to me, we have good news for you, Mr. Goddard. There has been a cancellation and you are going first class. Abdullah taught me the importance of remaining faithful to an idea and not compromising. I wavered, but he remained faithful to the assumption that I was in Barbados and had traveled first class.